But he died a hero.
He died for murder, you dumb.
Let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. I had eagerly anticipated this movie for years. I was, and still am, in love with the first two installments of Deadpool. Even with all their hilarity and action, both of those movies still managed to have plenty of gravitas, heart, and authenticity.
Wait, what did you do?
What? No!
You were right, Wade. You are not X-Men material.
That kid was abused. You can tell, you can always tell.
We have rules.
So when the return of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was also announced, I was barely able to contain my excitement. However, I left the theater in a state of cinematic whiplash. The film's humor kept me chuckling, yet I felt a great disappointment. Despite the excellence of the first two movies, this one felt hollow, the stakes ludicrous, and the overall experience lacked sincerity. In other words, it lacked verisimilitude. I expect this from most blockbuster movies, but not from this level of mega talent, especially not after those first two movies.
And I'd like the McRib to be available year-round, but sometimes dreams don't come true!
This experience made me reflect on other recent MCU disappointments, such as Ant-Man, Quantumania.
And at least I died an Avenger.
You did.
Yeah, no, you're in.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
What mouth?
And Thor, Love and Thunder.
They are wonderful. Oh, look at that.
While Deadpool and Wolverine is clearly the best of these four films, a common thread connected them, a disregard for authenticity, where characters and plot points shattered the internal logic of their worlds. It felt as though lines were delivered and actions taken solely for a cheap laugh or to advance the plot, sacrificing sincerity and believability along the way. It was a trend. Now, I know I'm walking into a potential minefield here. I know how popular the film is, and most of you might already be rolling your eyes. You may even be itching for more examples of what I'm ranting about. And don't worry, specific examples are coming in a moment. Let's get on the same page about what I mean by authentic, sincere storytelling. More importantly, let's explore who or what is responsible for its disappearance from our screens. In our modern world, sincerity seems increasingly elusive, a diminishing resource amidst the noise of politics, social media, and even movies. To achieve authentic storytelling, writers, directors, and actors must pour their hearts and souls into their work, crafting stories that resonate on an emotional level, stories that feel like a reflection of our own lives and struggles. It's about infusing every scene with truth and honesty. However, more than ever, modern narratives often feel contrived, catering to trends and superficial expectations rather than for genuine emotional engagement.
I'm the spy.
I knew it!
No, you did not.
I have found recent examples of insincere storytelling in moderately successful films like Trap, The Fall Guy, and Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. I also can't tell if the problem is the audience or the corporations making these films. Yes, we all know corporations view these movies as assets to be managed, prioritizing profitability and mass appeal over everything else. However, audiences are to blame too. In an era where information and entertainment are readily available, attention spans have shortened and tastes have evolved. We've become accustomed to instant gratification, seeking immediate thrills. This shift has in turn influenced the type of stories that studios believe will resonate with audiences. It's a complex interplay. The industry responds to what it perceives audiences want, yet it also shapes those desires through the stories it chooses to tell and the way it tells them. In the end, it's kind of a chicken or egg scenario. Now, the current cinematic landscape, particularly with the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, provides a clear example of this decline in sincerity and verisimilitude. Let's take a look at Deadpool and Wolverine in particular. The first two movies, Deadpool 1 and 2, were masterpieces. They were a breath of fresh air in the superhero genre. With its sharp wit, fourth wall breaking humor, and unexpectedly heartfelt narrative, these movies stood out. It told the story of Wade Wilson, a mercenary who gains superhuman abilities but is left horribly disfigured. Even with all its raunchy humor and over-the-top violence, the film resonated deeply with audiences because it balanced these elements with genuine emotion and a strong, truthful narrative.
Those guys hurt you?
The third movie takes meta-humor to all new highs, but especially when it comes to Disney, Fox, and the MCU, and not all of it works. For instance, Deadpool, known for his anti-hero stance and irreverence towards conventional superhero norms, suddenly desperately wants acceptance from the Avengers, an establishment you'd think he'd mock. It felt more like a marketing device by Disney to evoke nostalgia rather than a natural progression of Deadpool's character. I mean, the concept of Wolverine being an anchor being within the multiverse is a ridiculous storytelling choice. This notion that Wolverine's existence is somehow pivotal to the stability of multiple universes feels very convenient. It reduces the character to a plot device, stripping away any real depth or significance. It highlights the film's reliance on absurd narrative to drive the story forward. Deadpool also now kills innocent people. It's another troubling aspect I had with the movie. It features Deadpool directly causing the brutal deaths of innocent characters for the sake of a laugh. One example is the murder of Nicepool, who was brutally killed when Deadpool uses him as a shield. Don't get me wrong, it was hilarious, and I laughed as hard as anyone, but I left the theater feeling empty after.
How was I supposed to know he doesn't regenerate?
Similarly, I was confused by the treatment of Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, played by Chris Evans. His amusing cameo turns quickly dark as Deadpool gets him gleefully killed. This death was not as hilarious. Even the film's opening scene, while funny, features the brutal killing of TVA soldiers. Don't get me wrong, I hate the TVA as much as anybody, but were these soldiers genuinely trying to kill Deadpool? Did they deserve such a brutal fate?
Maybe it was a dream.
What dream?
Guys, I wanted to take a few seconds to mention I have 2 movies launching very soon on streaming services. One is a new psychedelic tale called A Trip Elsewhere, and the other is a relaunch of Nerve, more of a comedy drama about anxiety. Visit the description to find out what channels they will air on. Thanks. I can go on and on about the thinly drawn villain Cassandra Nova, or the absurdity of Paradox's plan, or much more. But instead, I like to dive deeper into the consequences of insincere storytelling. This isn't just about a shallow plot or unrelatable characters. It's about a broader cultural erosion. When we're constantly bombarded with stories that lack heart and depth, we risk normalizing superficiality and inauthenticity. These hollow narratives fail to challenge us, to inspire us, or to spark conversations that matter. They leave us feeling empty, disconnected, and ultimately unfulfilled. In a world already struggling with misinformation and digital distractions, the last thing we need is more noise masquerading as meaningful content. Insincere storytelling can even have a subtle yet insidious impact on our perception of the world, reinforcing harmful stereotypes, perpetuate unrealistic expectations, and ultimately distort our understanding of the human experience. We begin to see the world through a distorted lens, one that favors flashy facades over genuine connection. Despite the current landscape, I hold on to a glimmer of hope. The MCU, with its sprawling universe and vast potential, has the power to course correct. It can rediscover the magic that made its earlier phases resonate so deeply, the heart, the humor, and humanity that grounded even the most fantastical stories.